Hi again, and welcome to the Raw Marriage Show, where nothing is taboo and nothing is off limits for helping couples refresh, reconnect, and reignite your relationship. I'm Zev Halpern. Thanks for joining us. We have a really exciting show tonight. Special treat in the couples FYI will be sizzling hot as I take you on a sexy trip focusing directly on reigniting your inner intimacy for each of you personally and in your relationship. Our marriage panel guests tonight include theyre Carbo, transformational coach, psychotherapist and psychoanalyst Lisa Schlesinger, top divorce attorney and author David Bullitt. We'll be digging deep in the marriage panel tonight with topics like age-old marriage problems, when the honeymoon ends, playing intimacy games, and forgiveness. We're talking marital relationships every day and your intimate side too. I really value your point of view, so let me know what's on your mind and what relationship challenges you want us to focus on. Send your comments directly to me at zev@rechargeyourmarriagenow.com. Please sit back, chillax, open your heart and mind, and consider some ways you can recharge and rekindle your marriage. Here's today's Couples FYI. If one or both of you is listening, please use this guided tour of your private, intimate memories and fantasies to wake up and ignite the passionate, intimate, sexy side of you, your relationship, and or your marriage. As you're listening to this musical selection, called appropriately Karma Sutra, please get into your own headspace. Close your eyes for more privacy if you're not alone. Since you might be thinking, because I sure do, thank goodness we're not telepathic. You're safe in your own head, your own private space, and revisit some of those days in your life where you were turned on. What were you doing? And who were you doing it with? Think back to when you lusted for somebody, each other, someone you wanted to be with. Where did it happen? Or where does it happen in the fantasy? Can you remember a car, a basement couch maybe, a beach, an apartment? When was the last time you thought about those dreamy and steamy times when you first met and dove into each other's pleasure? They're your archives, your own private treasure trove of real, intimate memories or current fantasies. Let's take this a little further. Remember your special intimate times? The first deep kiss, touching each other in private ways? The first time you made steamy, hot, passionate love? It was like being drunk with passion for each other, and you couldn't wait for the opportunity to do it again. So what happened? Remember how you looked at each other? How you craved to be naked and close? After lovemaking, can you remember the relief of tension and feelings of bliss you shared together? This can also have occurred before your marriage, somewhere with someone where you were lusty and turned on. Do you fantasize about back then? Wish you could revisit a little of that? Is there someone you see now from time to time who doesn't know you fantasize about jumping their bones in your mind on a regular basis? Is there the one you let get away but sometimes wish it would have gone all the way? See more of someone at a pool or beach can turn you on. A movie actor, singer, who you fantasize about, make you tingle very hot. How about some ripped guy in a book you're reading on the beach, or some hot lingerie model that you wish you could play with for a few hours, or maybe a few days? Even better, you're on your way to him or her, or they're on their way to you. Can you feel the anticipation of what's going to happen emotionally and physically between you? Pretty hot. Yes, these are arousing, forbidden thoughts that some of us are taught, hey, we're not supposed to even have these thoughts. Taboo is novel and sexy and sends your neurochemicals into a lustful frenzy. So go back and see yourself as the romantic, sexy person you were and can really be again. Take your intimate passion and get ignited. Take a deep breath. You're turned on, and you're human just like the rest of us. Take a look at this, and we'll be right back to introduce you to our marriage panel.
Scrivo quest'ultima canzone solo per ricordarti, partita.
Welcome back. One quick thing before I introduce the marriage panel. After the show, please log on to rechargeyourmarriagenow.com and claim free marriage guides and resources available for you to download. I guarantee you won't be disappointed. And now, let's meet our marriage panel. Lisa Schlesinger is a licensed clinical social worker, psychotherapist, and psychoanalyst practicing in Bethesda, Maryland. Lisa has been practicing psychoanalytic psychotherapy for 20 years, working every day with people who struggle with anxiety, depression, stuckness, loneliness, transitions, and relationships. Lisa's focus is on helping people understand their part in their difficulties. She's a serial blogger and has authored articles for the Huffington Post, the Washingtonian, Bethesda Magazine, and My Tango. Lisa enjoys any opportunity to educate, write, or speak about mental health issues through understanding our unconscious. Welcome, Lisa. David Bullitt, among the D.C. area's top divorce lawyers by both Washingtonian and Bethesda magazines, a partner with the law firm of Joseph, Greenwald, and Lake in Rockville, Maryland. David has been married for 30 years and raised 4 daughters here in Montgomery County. He's also a published fiction author with his second novel, Because I Had To, out now, and he's doing all kinds of signings and all that, and congratulations, David. Theyre Carbo is a certified coach and a graduate of Accomplishment Coaching. Being in this work has made a tremendous impact on her 18-year marriage and the raising of her 3 teenage children. Theyre's been a wife, mother, and full-time entrepreneur since the age of 18 and has created what she and many others consider a wonderful and healthy life. Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for coming out tonight. So do couples know that they're not meeting their spouse's needs? I mean, we see them. You see them out there. You see them as a lawyer. You see them as a therapist. You see them as a coach. Do they know that they're not meeting each other's needs? And why is that? Why do people go for long periods of time like that? Why do they allow it?
I mean, I think you can just feel it, right? You can feel that there isn't, like, you can feel when there's a true connection and that intimacy and the closeness, and you can feel when there's a wall up and when there's something in the way. So I would say yes. I also think that in order to be able to be conscious and present and aware enough to know what someone else's needs are, you have to be thinking in such a way, you know what you need, you know what your needs are, and you're present and conscious to that, and
that you have the
and
you
it's
have
not
the
a
other
completely
person.
self-centered exchange.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking about, hey, there's another person in this life of mine. What do you think, Dave?
I hate to disagree with Theyre, but look, if couples knew they weren't meeting their partner's needs, I'd be doing something else.
You're not them, though. The issue is that so many they get stuck. They get clueless. They get scared and worried, and if they say the wrong thing, and so they don't. And for about 5 years.
That's what I mean. Some people who don't have long-term relationships don't understand at a very basic level. They don't understand what their partner needs or wants. I mean, that's the fact. I mean, that's why 50% and some places more than 50% of married couples divorce.
Even in
They don't
terms
get
of
it.
sometimes, what they need, like as a present, like she don't need a card. Yeah, she needs a card. Or how about this, someone takes the same present for years and years. So the question is, and maybe I can ask you, Lisa, how do you rectify it? What's the way to rectify this for a couple?
Well, I think that it has a lot to do with people giving, one spouse gives another spouse what they actually want, rather than the other way around. So that there's a sense that they're sort of trying to shove a round peg into a square, or round hole into a square peg, where they are hoping for the very same thing to come back to them.
So,
Yeah, like,
but the
I'll teach
issue
him
is,
how to do
but the
this
issue
for
is
years,
that
yeah.
it's a hoping that's going on in their heads instead of, instead of
There's
communication.
an actual belief, I think, on unconscious level that they are giving the person what they need. And that why can't my spouse or my partner receive the love that I'm giving? Why is it that this is not enough, knowing who I am? Why can't they read between the lines?
So
there's
this
a
is
sense
one
of
good reason to be telepathic. But there aren't a lot. There aren't a lot of good reasons to be telepathic. That might be one of
I
them.
mean, there's different ways to express it, right? So I'll give you a good example. With my wife, she doesn't tell me she loves me 17 times a week. She doesn't hug. There's not a lot of that holding hands. There's not a ton of that. She expresses it in a way that she does things. So I come home, been a long day, dinner. She made dinner even though she worked 12 hours herself, or she went and grabbed my dry cleaning, even though she got plenty of other things to do, and I didn't ask her to do it. So you can show it in different ways. But getting back to your question, which is, do people understand that they're not giving the other person what they need? I think the answer is sometimes they pretty much don't.
Yeah, I'm going to go with David. I changed
There we
my
go, I
answer.
convinced her. That's why I went to law school.
What are
Yeah.
some of the?
I'm
So
sold.
what do you think? What do you think? One of the three. So much great camaraderie on this panel. It's so lovely. What are some of the cardinal rules? That are perhaps you can't go back on some of them. I'm going to suggest you might be able to, but what are some of them? You know them because they lay them right on you, David. What do they say? What did he do?
I mean,
what did she do?
The big thing, of course, is whether someone is
Right,
the cheating part, and that is a very, very difficult thing for people to get over, and male or female. Though I will tell you, my own experience has been that men have a more difficult time often getting over it than women, and that's a generic thing you want to stay away from generally. But
I think there's something to it.
yeah, I mean, so that's one of those things that once you cross that line, it's tough. It's tough to look at that person and think of that person with someone else, and that causes and that bleeds, into other parts of your life.
Is there forgiveness? Is there? What does
I think
forgiveness
there
look
can
like?
be.
What does it look like? Is it the cursory? I'm sorry,
No.
I couldn't help it. She
It's
just was.
Cute.
I think that that's one of the things that doesn't have to be a deal breaker, infidelity. I think there are deal breakers like domestic violence,
Deal breaker.
pedophilia, major deal breaker. But I think infidelity, financial difficulties, some of those kinds of things, depending on the couple and their commitment to working on it, it doesn't have to be a deal breaker.
So that's a big
Well,
depending.
Depending.
Right? That's a
Yeah, I mean,
depending.
I'll tell
on-
you something else. Domestic violence is not often a deal breaker. You see folks in my line of work who stay, and you know that. People
Yeah.
stay. It should be.
That's what I'm
Should
saying.
be, absolutely. I agree with you. But it isn't.
Unfortunately,
easy to
because in a
recover
past
from it.
life,
I agree with you.
in a
Absolutely.
past life, they had some practice, unfortunately, and sometimes they've enrolled. They found a spouse who's going to do what they, don't want them to do to them.
Right.
Really, it just.
Well, it's an
happens that way.
unconscious communication. But, people
But-
find each other for reasons.
And it comes across pretty strong. I mean, the vibe is almost from across the room somehow. She
Yes.
crossed the room, and I loved her.
It's
Well, how
totally
did
a
you get
vibe.
that part of it? How did you
Right,
know that
right.
there was this dysfunctional mess, that was going to, when the
radar.
smoke cleared and we got all the lovey stuff, you know what I mean? Here we got, a real serious problem. So there's forgiveness. So we're going to move to the sexpectations part of the next segment. So if you could give one piece of advice, people have been married for 2 years, keep things fresh, sexy, and whatever, what would you tell a couple that was asking you? Give them any advice? Anybody?
Yeah, I would say that intimacy, or my good friend always says, sex is between the ears, right? And if you can feel the connection, oh, shut up. Like,
well, there is
a
that
woman
too.
will
I've
open
heard it.
straight up when you say the right thing to her, and I think that's the thing. Like, we have to feel the connection and the intimacy first, and then we're all open.
But what if, just all of a sudden, it does happen that way. Like you wake up one day, I've heard it so many times, and I wasn't that into her anymore, or I didn't want him, I didn't like his advances, or all of a sudden that just...
I think that has to do with familiarity, and that people, and this is going to sound sort of racy, but I think people oftentimes when they're too familiar with their spouse, they start to see them as a sibling or a family member, and that's hard to
like in
get
the
it
cave.
on with.
We're like cave, like in the cave, we're cave, mates instead of
Right.
the all that other stuff, the passion and the flame, go
So,
far.
I get the whole sex is between the ears.
Ha-ha.
Okay, I understand where she's coming from. I get that. But the fact of the matter is I think in most relationships, you got to still be able to look across the table, whether you're having dinner, or look in the yard if you're outside, or look wherever you're looking and want to have a sexual relationship with that person. And you got to feel that. Now that's going to change over time. We all know that. I've been married for 30 years. It changes.
Well, there's some ebbs and tides
Yeah,
there.
There. I mean, it's not like it's different. And so the advice you might give to a couple who's married for the first time in their 30s or 40s might be different than you give to a couple who married at 20 or 21. Because they're going to experience things differently. Or a couple who had a baby early in their relationship,
Yeah.
or a couple that's in their second marriage and they aren't going to have children, but are still looking for the answer. I'd say that question that you just asked.
So, moving on, is sex and romance the only way you can show love in your relationship? Is it the only thing that where people think that you love them, is that you have to touch them, show them affection, be close to them, have sex with them, whatever? What else says it? What else says I love you? Well,
I think that it can be such very simple things like, if one person isn't feeling well and the other person just brings them home soup, or is being thoughtful about picking up medications without being told, or,
I
simple,
care about you.
yeah,
It
just
says,
really,
care
I have you
about
on my mind. I have you stay on my mind, and you have a place in my mind. I think that's the way people feel loved.
I've often heard people say, I heard it Saturday night, where we were talking about this at this salon I was doing, and people all of a sudden said, yeah, how about vacuuming? I said, show me some love. I said, so you mean vacuuming maybe get the guy laid? Maybe, sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. It certainly says you get it, about the house, and that you're not just, gallivanting thinking that all this just gets done by the, tooth fairy.
It's what's important to the person. You're saying that in that case, vacuuming could be important to the one person. So knowing that and sort of doing that intuitively,
Sure, without being asked, without being told, can you do that? I asked you last week to do that, whatever it is. And I appreciate the advice, because I'm going to go home and
Vacuum.
vacuum cleaner out. I'm going to
There
do the
you
whole
go.
house top to
All
bottom
right.
twice.
So the 5 love languages
wanna
are
have
gifts,
somebody?
acts of service,
Acts of
physical touch. What are they? Words of affirmation. Who knows the last one? Anybody?
gratitude,
That might be it.
appreciation.
What appreciation.
Yeah, right? So
Appreciation.
there's plenty of different ways, and they say predominantly we have 2, right? So like you said, one of mine is gifts. So I gave my husband gifts for 18 years, and he's like, I don't care about these.
Right.
Return them.
Right,
And it
exactly.
broke my heart because
The
his was
interest-
physical touch, right? So,
Yeah.
oh,
The
get it.
interesting part of
Yeah.
it is that some people don't even realize that if they do one of these other things, that they might get some of the things that they're looking for in their relationship, and it's a hole in their relationship because they don't do it. And so there's resentment, seething, resentment, flying.
People get diverted. I mean, day-to-day lives divert you from what's really important, not just with your spouse, but maybe with your kids or with other parts of your life. I got to get here, I got to get there, I got to do this, I got to do that, and before you know it, that 3 hours that you were spending dinner with your family that you so looked forward to is done and gone, and you didn't really get a chance to talk to your daughter about how did you have a good time at the formal at school or whatever, because you were too worried about other things.
Yeah,
And
the
so,
presence.
sure, and it's hard, and this is we've talked about this before, it's a tough place to live. It's busy, we're hectic, we're moving, we're
We have social
here and
media.
there. And sitting back and taking things in, whether it's a physical thing, whether it's a sexual thing, whether it's just being, and not just, like I said, with your spouse, but just being, is something that
Really
people
being
lose
in it,
out on.
Yes.
being
and they-
in it.
and it's hard. It's hard for
yeah.
people who know that's what they should do.
It's a very intimate thing to do.
Yeah,
So it's
sure.
hard.
Otherwise, you're looking at it from the outside. There's a bit of spectatorism to your own life.
No question
you're
about
watching your life from the grandstand
No question
because you're
about it.
moving. Oh, here's what just happened because I didn't do this.
And it's empty
yeah,
that way.
And then, but the grind goes on, and the grind is the grind certainly moves forward. It definitely
But
doesn't move.
I think it's in a lot of ways defensive too, because it's very difficult to really just sit and be with people that you love and be in the moment, really present, and whatever
Separate
that
from
means.
all the other stuff running through your head.
You're looking at
Yeah.
your phone,
Yeah.
you got a text, and how important, I mean, let's face it, how important are most of us that we have to look when somebody wants to tell you something?
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know.
really
It seems
sad.
almost integral to the ear that the phone arrived there. I mean,
Yeah.
it
How
seems
important
people are
can it
going to
be?
die.
How important can it be that it takes you away from what really is, but yet
It does.
all of us let that happen.
That's right.
And I know a family who, when they sit down Sunday night for dinner, cell phones go in a basket and they go in the other room.
I love
That's
that.
it.
That's so cool.
That's it. It's a 45 minutes, half hour, whatever it is. They're going in the basket. They're going to the other room. And the kids, I think, railed against it at first, but then it's become more of a traditional kind of thing.
I'm not putting my phone in the basket. Hey, I'll
Yeah,
pay you
I wouldn't.
$45.
Yeah.
I'm
How
gonna
about
start doing
$45?
that.
I don't care. I want my phone. I don't care about the $45. In the old days, $45.
a lot of money.
It would have been like, phone?
Yeah,
What phone?
sure.
It's best to hide them.
So we don't have a lot of time. Why do people not experiment and explore with each other? What prevents them from a status quo point of view? Just a quick stab at this. Why don't they
Rejection.
do it?
Rejection,
They're
shame.
worried about rejection. They're worried about what's going to happen during and what's going to happen.
What's the
You know,
other
it could
person going
be-
to think when I say, when he says to her, I'd really like to put on a movie tonight while we have sex. Can we do, people are scared of the response to those kinds of things, I think. So,
I think you're right. I think that it's kind of a cliff, and you
Yeah.
have to take a leap of faith in order to do that.
You have to
particular-
practice being vulnerable together. You don't just snap into vulnerability.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
think
for
so, too.
sure. And people can go a long time without being, it's almost like a vulnerability prevention, program.
How robotic can
Kind of
we
a
be?
weird
That's
thing,
weird.
but the world
Yeah,
could be a
it's so true.
vulnerability prevention program because it just operates on us. We need to operate on the world, but it doesn't always happen that way. So
We're fearful of attachment and dependency in so many ways, and it makes you much more dependent and much more, sort of, I don't know, I think people feel it's too submissive when they're
right.
asking for their needs to be met in that way.
Well, this has been great. You guys were fantastic. Lisa, David, Tara, thanks so much.
That's
Great.
Thank you.
Well, that's all the time we have for tonight. Thanks again to the great panel for lending your wise and useful insights to the marriage panel discussion. To find out more about our marriage panel guests, here's how to contact them. To connect with Tara Carbo, to connect with Lisa Schlesinger, To connect with David Bullitt, I've successfully counseled and coached marriages from my office in Montgomery County and virtually all over the world through my online relationship and marriage coaching practice. I invite you to find out more about how I can counsel and coach your marriage through my signature program, rechargeyourmarriagenow.com. Get in touch with me, enrich your marital communication skills. Be heard. Say what you need to say. Resolve some of that raw marital conflict. Reconnect for a deeper, more fulfilling relationship. Spice it up a little, and you could just be feeling the love again. Follow me on Twitter, like my Facebook page, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please check out the podcast on iTunes and iHeartRadio. And I'm live on Wednesdays with Over the Marriage Hump Day on Facebook. Finally, try some forgiveness if you can. Hug, kiss, touch, talk, cuddle, vacuum. Vacuum the whole house. Laugh a little. Talk about what you need from each other and your marriage. Do something novel together. Say you're sorry sometimes. I know that's hard. Remember, we're the sum total of our mistakes and our successes. It's all right. We all mess up. We're only human. You can try again. I'm Zev Halpern. See you next time for the Raw Marriage Show.